Have you ever felt frustrated because others aren't filling your needs? Whether it's a partner, a family member, or friends. That frustration that we feel when others aren't meeting our needs, or we perceive that others aren't meeting our needs, is a challenging one to deal with. Because developing in our own sense of self-responsibility and self-efficacy requires us to begin to acknowledge that it's up to us and not others to ensure that our needs are met. I'm Dr. Alan Johnson, and on this channel, I talk about the mind, well-being, productivity, and change for thinkers, makers, and everyone in between. When we talk about getting our needs met, it's not an act of selfishness, but rather an act of self-care. Getting our needs met ensures that we are equipped to live a balanced, fulfilling life. And because of that, are able to show up for others around us in the ways that they need us to show up for them. I think that Oprah Winfrey put it best when she said, "You are responsible for your life. And if you are sitting around waiting on somebody to save you, to fix you, to even help you, you are wasting your time. Only you have the power to take responsibility to move your life forward." So let's explore this a little bit more, because this might be a concept that seems really familiar and intuitive to some of you, but this also might be a concept that raises some uncertainty, some concern, and perhaps some doubt within you. Let's begin, first of all, by thinking about what happens when your emotional needs are not met. Very simply, it can lead to frustration, resentment, burnout, a whole array of different emotional states that we don't necessarily want to spend the majority of our time in. And when we place the responsibility on others to meet our emotional needs, we can begin to create an unhealthy dynamic in those relationships. So there's a lot that can happen when our needs are not met and when we rely on others outside of ourselves in order to meet them. So to give an example, if someone constantly expects their partner to validate their worth or to sustain their happiness, it puts undue pressure on that relationship and can lead to frustration and disappointment if those expectations aren't met. Meeting your own emotional needs, or finding ways to meet your own emotional needs, ensures that you're not overly dependent upon others for your emotional and physical well-being. Humans are inherently relational beings, and we need others around us, of course, but we don't need to rely solely on others for meeting our needs. It's about learning to take ownership of our own emotional health. One of the ways in which we can begin to do this is through the use of something known as I statements. I statements are a communication technique designed to express our feelings and our needs without blaming or replacing responsibility on others. So for example, instead of saying to a partner or family member or friend, "You never listen to me," think about how different it is if you were to say, "I feel unheard when we're talking, and I need more understanding from you." That's an example of an I statement. And why I statements such as that are so important and so transformative is that they shift the responsibility back to you, emphasizing your own feelings and your own needs, rather than making it all about the other person's actions. So if you lead in a conversation saying that you're doing this, or you're doing that, or the way that you behave in this way is frustrating or makes me angry, you're putting all of the control of that relational dynamic in the hands of the other person. Instead, with an I statement, you begin with how that behavior makes you feel. I feel blank when you behave in X, Y, or Z manner. This isn't denying that an external behavior or behavior pattern is frustrating or upsetting to us or detrimental to a person that we care about. It's not denying the reality of those challenges, but instead, I statements refocus our awareness on what is in our control, which is, most simply, our response and our reaction to that external event. And many people who are natural caregivers or natural people pleasers are conditioned to think that putting themselves first is selfish. But it's not, because by finding healthy ways in which to get our own needs met, we are able to show up relationally for others as well. It's the same way that on a flight, the flight attendant tells you to put your own oxygen mask on before the person next to you. Because if you run out of oxygen, you're not going to be able to help the person next to you put their oxygen mask on. Brene Brown captures this really well when she says, when we fail to set boundaries and hold people accountable, we feel used and mistreated. So as we begin to take more responsibility for our own emotional needs, there are a few things that we can do. First of all, we need to identify our needs. What is it that we need to receive from others around us? This is something that we can explore through a journaling practice, through a meditation practice, whether that is closed eye seated practice or a movement meditative practice such as yoga or Tai Chi. And by the way, in the comments below, I'll drop a link to my 30-day Integrative Meditation course online, which goes into all of this in a lot more detail. So we need to begin by identifying what our needs are. And from there, we need to begin to take action to get our needs met. If our needs are not clear to others, this might mean that we need to set boundaries with others, that we might need to practice greater self-care, that we might need to learn new skills to enable us to be more self-sufficient. Or perhaps most immediately, we begin to use those I statements when we are communicating our needs with others. And through this process, we also need to continue to practice a sense of self-compassion, expressing our own care for ourselves as a way to make sure that we have the emotional strength and resilience to be able to express care for others around us as well. Practicing self-compassion reminds us that all of this is a learning process. All of life is a learning process. There's no point in which we achieve fulfillment or completion of the relational dynamic with others. It's something that we continue to practice and grow into and grow through over time. So I want you to begin to think about what taking responsibility for your needs and getting your needs met might mean for you right now in this particular moment. Take baby steps moving forward toward this as you continue to explore what this means for you. If you found this useful video, please like it and share it with someone else who might benefit from it. And don't forget to subscribe for more content like this on personal growth, success, and living your best life.